How's it going, everybody? My name is Jesse. Welcome back to Continues to Tick, a channel where I express my fascination with time and just thinking of the future. I hope you're enjoying the documentation of my dividend growth portfolio. It's a series where I start, from the bottom, and with time on my side, I'm hoping to be able to show that I can reach, technically the top, aka, a good-sized dividend portfolio, one that produces a good amount of passive income. One, hopefully good enough to produce a good amount to be able to retire off of in the future. That in addition to real estate, that in addition to my pension here in California. Those are the plans. I want to retire early. I want to live in the future and not have to worry about money. And I'd rather worry about that now than have to worry about it later. I want to ultimately be back in control of my time, which I currently am not, unfortunately. I need to go into work every day, 5 days a week, every single month for many years to come. I've only been in the workforce for about a year and a half, so I got quite a ways to go. But the idea is hopefully planning financially now. That way I can retire earlier than I can even imagine in the future. So we'll see how it all unfolds. I'm putting my thoughts and efforts and energy into that now, preparing for it now, just doing what I can. So time will tell. Time will tell me how well I planned. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind working. I don't mind being in the workforce. I'm only 25 years old. I want to be able to contribute to society. That's fine. I just don't want that to be the case forever. I don't want to feel like I have to work forever. And I'm sure other people can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of people who plan financially for the future can relate to that. Anyways, with that being said, as you saw by the title, yes, I am being audited, technically. Yes, the IRS sent me a letter. I am pretty stressed about it, but it's surely a learning experience. One that I can definitely value at the young age of 25. I have so many years of paying taxes ahead of me. I had to learn something some way, and I guess it's better to learn it now. But before I share exactly what happened, let's dive into the portfolio review for this week. So as you can see, we're at $8,800 right now. We're overall in the green all time. Overall in the green for the week. The day I think was, slightly red. But overall, the portfolio is looking good. You can actually see some of the growth in the dividend growth portfolio. But here we are, we're approaching the $9,000 mark. I anticipate passing the $10,000 mark, hopefully sometime in January of 2021. But, you just never know. There's a lot of volatility in the market right now, in the world in general. Emotionally, we can feel it. Technically, even as of this moment right now, it's Friday, November 6th. And we still don't know who the president is going to be. And we probably won't know for another while. But as I always say, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. So if you're curious and want to take a look and see what I'm holding exactly, you can always check out what I'm holding. I have a link in the description box below in all my videos. Just click on that and you can see exactly what I'm holding if you're curious. Like I said, I don't like sharing exactly what I'm holding just because it's kind of like, giving it a bullish, or if I'm not holding something, a bearish perspective, to what I should or shouldn't be holding and things like that. I just keep it very vague. This is my portfolio. In terms of stocks, I don't really go down that path, but definitely check it out if you're curious. As far as the activity this week, we definitely had some good action this week. A really good week, I would say, overall. It was on November 2nd where I woke up and M1 Finance gave me a little notification saying I got paid, $4 in dividends. So that was a really good feeling. And that day I got paid by ABM, AT&T, Verizon, JPM. And I know AT&T and Verizon, they're high yielding, AT&T specifically. So, when you get paid by those two companies, you're definitely going to get paid. A lot of people have their opinions on AT&T, but like I said, I don't really dive too deep into that. The funds are coming in, and so far, a lot of the stocks I'm holding, or I guess I should say all the stocks that I'm holding, haven't had any dividend cuts or dividend halts. If anything, I think I just got an email this morning from Snap-on saying that they increased their dividend yield by 13%, which is pretty awesome. I think that's the highest increase I've had so far this year, and it's 2020. So congrats to Snap-on. And as you can see here, November 5th, which was yesterday, I deposited another $500 into the account. And with the snowball action from November 2nd and, everything that's kind of accumulating this week with $504, we bought back into the portfolio, buying additional shares of the companies that I'm holding, continuing that journey. It's all happening automatically. That's why I really enjoy M1 Finance. You just kind of set it and forget it. But even with that being said, I'm always looking at my portfolio multiple times a day, daily for sure. So if you're curious, because I know I've seen a couple new people subscribing to the channel, definitely welcome. I did start this portfolio on July 20th, just in case you're curious. So overall, it's a really young portfolio. I'm also investing at a really strange time. It's 2020, the presidential election, and even earlier this year, there's a huge dip. Some people say crash in the market. Back in March, April, the whole stock market went down. Since it's recovered. So I've invested in a really strange time, and my portfolio is really young. So those are two interesting things to kind of keep in mind, when we're watching, specifically my portfolio, continue along its journey. So with that being said, let's now dive into the main topic of this week's video and how I received a notice of an audit in the mail. So I received a letter. It was a 525 form. It was pretty much saying that my 1040 is being audited. So just to backtrack a little bit, last year was technically my first full year in the workforce, and almost first full year. I didn't actually start working full time until April. So from January to March, I was sharing an insurance plan with my parents. I totally completely forgot about that. So when I, got to the end of the year, early this year, I went to go file my taxes. I included all the documentations that I needed to include, except that form. The form showing that I was on my parents' insurance for those first 3 months of the year. So my name was on that paperwork, and I completely forgot to include that in my taxes. I initially filed my taxes with TurboTax, thinking that I don't have any major obligations. I can just file it online. No big deal. It'll be quick, easy, and it's simple. I'm 25 years old. I'm very, digitalized. If I can do things online, I will do it online. Less human interaction, right? So I filed my taxes, and I actually filed them really early. It was like in February of this year, I think, when I actually filed them. So since I filed them in February, I've been waiting and waiting. COVID hit, and that kind of delayed everything, right? So I didn't think too much of it. June comes, July comes, August comes, September comes, and I'm like, whoa, I haven't received my refund. And yes, I know refunds are bad, but technically it's my first year in the workforce. So yes, I was expecting a refund. I think it was around in June, July where I got a notice in the mail saying that, we need your 8962 form. Well, that's a form regarding the premium tax credit, which is in relation to my parents' insurance. The one that I didn't include on my original 1040 tax return. So the IRS caught me there. So they gave me the opportunity to submit the form. Me not thinking too much of it, I was like, I'm just missing a form. I requested it from my parents, and I was like trying to fill it out the best that I could, looking up online. Okay, I filled it out, and then I submitted it back to the IRS. Like I said, that was in June, July. August comes, September comes, October comes. Here we are in November. Just literally this last weekend, I received a letter in the mail saying that I'm getting audited by the IRS and that I owe $14,000. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And I look into it, I open it up, and it's saying, we're auditing your 1040. It was the letter 525 that I'm showing here, and it's an audit on my tax return. When I submitted the 8962 form, which I kind of figured I was able to complete, but I completely did not fill it out correctly at all. They later did some calculations on their end once they received that paperwork, and they proposed some changes to my tax return. And then that's how I ended up owing $14,000. They gave me a letter of the explanation of items, and they gave me another notice saying that, if I don't agree with these proposed changes, to resubmit my 8962 form, which is a premium tax credit verification form. So it was at that point where I knew things were kind of, I shouldn't be handling this anymore. I completely didn't handle it correctly the first time when they sent me the notice to send them the 8962 initially. And sure, there's different types of audits. Some of them, are the horror stories that you hear. This one's technically an audit, but it's not the horror story style. It's just them telling me their proposed changes secondary to the form that I submitted and that I clearly submitted incorrectly. But still, receiving that form in the mail, it's a gut shot feeling. It's a stressful feeling. I still feel a little stressed right now. So with all that being said, this week, ever since I got that letter, I decided that I can't do this on my own. I need to get some professional help. I need to get some assistance. So I found a good CPA, one that my parents have worked with before. I've just been working with them. It looks like ultimately I'm going to have to amend my actual tax return because, some calculation adjustments had to be made because of the 8962 form. But my CPA, they're a professional. A lot of this is probably cakewalk for them. At least I'm hoping. That's what it sounds like. And, I'll take their confidence at face value. So I'm hoping the outcome will be just fine. but this was definitely a learning experience for me. TurboTax is great, but the assistance just isn't there. Every year moving now forward, I'm going to be working with the CPA when I do my tax return, especially considering that now I have a dividend portfolio. I'm going to have some other smaller financial obligations I'm going to want to be taken care of. I don't want to have a hiccup in my tax returns again. It was definitely a scary feeling to get that form in the mail from the IRS, and it's definitely been a frustrating experience, to say the least, of filing my tax return in February. It's literally November, 6th today, and I still haven't received my refund. I still haven't received it. So if there's one thing that I've learned from this whole experience, is that moving forward, I'm definitely going to be seeking professional help when it comes to my tax returns every year moving forward. My obligations, at least right now, aren't huge, but I'm only 25 and I'm going to have a lot of tax years ahead of me. I already got a scary audit notice. Getting a notice saying you owe this much, it's pretty scary. So moving forward, I'm going to be using a CPA. I'm going to be using professional advice, professional assistance with my tax returns. And maybe a lot of you already do that, but I'm sure there's some of you out there that don't. So just be careful if you're using TurboTax. Be careful if you're trying to do your tax returns on your own, or if you get a notice in the IRS and you try to, complete that form on your own. Be more observant than I was. And if you feel like you need, some professional help in filling out these forms and things like that, definitely do it. I just kind of was like, oh, Google can kind of help me. I kind of pieced it together, and now I'm kind of dealing with the consequences. So that's my tax story for this year. Hopefully it will be my last one ever. I don't want any more of these coming up to my attention. So that's going to be it for this week's video. I hope you guys are doing well. November's here. December will be here before you know it. Let's find out who the president's going to be. Hopefully we hear sometime soon. Hopefully we hear by my next week's video. I'll see you guys then. Peace.